Tonight on NewsWatch, deadline day for sequestration. The latest on the president's last-minute meeting with congressional leaders.
Plus, gay marriage at the Supreme Court, why the administration and some leading Republicans are speaking out in support of same-sex couples.
And America's first black, few and proud. We have the amazing story of the Montford Point Marines. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Lori Johnson. At midnight, the federal government begins the process of trimming $85 billion from its spending plan.
The so-called sequester cuts are the latest example of the ongoing budget stalemate between Republicans and Democrats in Washington. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon has tonight's top story.
One by one, congressional leaders arrived at the White House. Their meeting with President Obama was closed to the press. Still, the hour-long ordeal was more of a photo op to say they met. No minds were changed.
None of this is necessary. It's happening because a choice that Republicans in Congress have made.
A choice not to raise taxes to accommodate the president's call for a balanced approach.
Let's make it clear that the president got his tax hikes on January 1st. This discussion about revenue, in my view, is over. It's about taking on the spending problem here in Washington.
Fiscal conservatives are thrilled about the cuts. Still, both sides agree it would be better to have more control over how they're made.
We shouldn't be making a series of dumb, arbitrary cuts to things that businesses depend on and workers depend on, like education and research and infrastructure.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi showed reporters a furlough notice from the Department of Justice. Still, it will likely be weeks before major effects of the cuts are realized.
I think some people may have thought sequester meant shutdown of government. No, it means more like hold hostage all the things you care about.
Next week, the House will pass a new spending bill to avoid a government shutdown that is possible at the end of March. Meanwhile, Americans can expect budget issues to continue to plague both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
Our White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon joins us now with more. Jennifer, how do we get to this point?
Well, Mark, if you zoom out and look at the big picture here, remember, President Obama won re-election promising to raise taxes on higher income Americans. Republicans kept their majority in the House by promising to hold the line on new taxes and to cut federal spending. So when it comes to these so-called sequester cuts, both sides feel obligated to follow their mandate from the American people. And that's the basic reason why we have this stalemate over budget issues, and it's going to continue.
Where will Americans really feel the pinch from these cuts?
Well, whatever the effect, it will be gradual because agencies have 6 months to make these cuts. And, you know, all week the Obama administration has been painting a very gloomy picture of what's going to happen. A less secure homeland, 4-hour lines to get through security at airports, school districts handing out pink slips, which turned out to be a stretch. But we really have to wait and see how much of that comes to pass. I can tell you, after hearing from military experts this week, there are real concerns about how these arbitrary cuts will affect military preparedness. One source tells me what makes the U.S. military the mightiest in the world is that our troops constantly practice. And so many experts are convinced these cuts will affect our ability to train and be prepared. But in terms of how it will affect the average American, look, Mark, many people would say lines to do business with government agencies are already pretty long. So time will tell.
That is true. Well, tax season is coming up. How will the cuts affect the IRS, Jennifer?
Good news for taxpayers here, Mark. Any furloughs at that agency will be delayed until after tax season. That means tax refund checks will not be delayed due to the sequester.
All right, Jennifer Wishon, our White House correspondent, thank you for keeping us updated. Take care.
Thank you.
The fight for gay marriage is headed to the Supreme Court this month. Ahead of that, both the president and some leading Republicans are speaking out in support of same-sex marriage. Dale Hurd reports.
The president has filed a friend of the court brief with the U.S. Supreme Court urging the justices overturn California's gay marriage ban, Proposition 8. It's the first time a U.S. president has urged the High Court to expand the right of gays and lesbians to marry. The president used to oppose gay marriage. He calls his change in views a, quote, evolution.
Marriage is between a man and a woman.
My feelings about this are constantly evolving. I struggle with this.
I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law.
His Attorney General, Eric Holder.
This is really the latest civil rights issue. It is a question of whether or not American citizens are going to be treated with the equal protection of the laws.
The High Court will be hearing 2 gay marriage cases back-to-back next month, Prop 8 and then the Defense of Marriage Act. Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and hundreds of other businesses are also filing briefs in support of gay marriage, along with several well-known Republicans, including John Huntsman, Meg Whitman, and Clint Eastwood. But some backers of traditional marriage believe the High Court's decision will swing their way.
What is the public purpose of marriage? Marriage brings together men and women for the reproduction of the human race.
The High Court's ruling is expected by the end of June. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Joining us now is Thomas Peters from the National Organization for Marriage. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Peters.
Good to be with you.
So will the president's brief on Prop 8 really have any impact on the court's decision on whether to uphold the law?
I think if it has any impact, it'll actually have a negative one in terms of getting the result that the president wants. I think he's politicized the issue, and frankly, he has no credibility on it either, because as that montage you just showed points out, he's flipped his position several times now. And at this stage, the question at the Supreme Court is whether we're going to respect the right of the 7 million Californian voters who voted to protect marriage, or if the Supreme Court's going to, by fiat, erase their democratic vote.
You know, a lot of Republicans who are typically socially conservative are switching and are now supporting gay marriage. Why is that, do you suppose?
Well, first of all, I think that's not actually what's happening. If you look at this list of Republican signers, the one thing they almost all have in common is that they're not in office anymore. They don't have to face the voters with their new marriage views. And in our experience, and the Associated Press had a recent report on this, when Republicans switch their views on marriage, they lose elections. And so even the highest name they could find, John Huntsman, for all of his millions, he only placed 3rd in New Hampshire. So all of the other Republican candidates for president last term signed our pro-marriage pledge. So the Republican Party, I think, is strongly pro-marriage, but it's our opponents who are trying to confuse the issue.
So 2 biggies coming up, the Prop 8 case and the case of the Defense Against Marriage Act will be argued before the Supreme Court this month. What do you think?
We're very confident that the Supreme Court is going to validate the rights of ordinary Americans to protect marriage and law, as over 30 states have done. And we're also holding a march on the National Mall that day to celebrate marriage and show the positive face of the future of the pro-marriage movement.
All right, Mr. Peters, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe signed into law a bill protecting the rights of mothers who are forced to defend the lives of their unborn children. It's called the Pregnant Woman's Protection Act. The measure passed both the State House and Senate unanimously. The group Americans United for Life is behind the new legislation. A spokesperson says it was drafted in response to the growing problem of pregnancy-related violence against women.
Pro-life groups in Maryland are hoping state regulators will revoke an abortionist's medical license. They also want to see murder charges against Dr. Leroy Carhart. That after a patient under his care died. Heather Sells explains.
The state of Maryland is investigating the death of 29-year-old Jennifer Morbelli. She died February 7th, just days after receiving an abortion from late-term abortion doctor Leroy Carhart. An initial medical examiner's report shows she suffered from a complication related to childbirth in which amniotic fluid was pushed into her bloodstream. Now, Operation Rescue is seeking second-degree murder charges against Carhart, saying Morbelli's family was unable to reach him as her condition worsened, and that he, in fact, had left town.
There was no one for the family to contact when her condition began to deteriorate back at the hotel. She was not properly monitored. They knew it.
And he left for Nebraska, and later that evening she was bleeding profusely, and she had to go to the nearby hospital.
Montgomery County Police say their investigation into Morbelli's death remains active while they wait for the full autopsy report.
Pro-life groups also want the Maryland Board of Physicians to revoke Carhart's medical license. Some protesters recently stood vigil outside the building while the board met. More than 1,300 people have signed a petition online asking the board to take action. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Chicago Public Schools plan to start teaching sex education to kids in kindergarten. The city's Board of Education passed the new policy this week. It mandates a set amount of time be spent on sex ed in every grade. Most public schools across the nation begin teaching sex ed in 5th grade. Under the new policy, kindergartners will learn about basic anatomy, reproduction, healthy relationships, and personal safety. Chicago has the 3rd largest public school system in the country. Parents will be allowed to opt their child out of that subject.
Coming up, how CBN is stepping in to aid those caught in the conflict in Mali.
CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
Efrem Graham, CBN News, New York.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore. CBNNews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
Embassy in Washington, Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
Listen up for an amazing offer that can change the way you hear.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Frustrated with your hearing?
What did he say?
Well, hear better now. Introducing the fully rechargeable MSA 30X, a revolutionary device that features the latest microsound amplification technology that can barely be seen. Independently tested to help you hear up to 30 times better. It turns ordinary hearing into extraordinary hearing. MSA 30X works by capturing and amplifying sound waves, yet its lightweight ergoacoustic design is discreet. It form-fits in and around either ear.
I forget I'm even wearing it.
And MSA 30X is powerful. Hear clearly in restaurants. Never miss another word on TV or at the movies.
My wife complains that I have the volume up on the TV too loud.
And I didn't want to be in the same room with them.
Now I can hear everything clearly.
Simply adjust the volume as you desire. Other units use so many batteries and they're difficult to change. But the MSA 30X is completely rechargeable. Simply plug it into the wall.
I tried other devices that had batteries, but they were always such a pain to change and so costly. But this is rechargeable, so I figure I save hundreds a year.
Bulky sound amplifiers can cost hundreds, but try MSA 30X for just $59.95 and we'll include a cleaning brush and 5 comfort tips. But wait, in this special TV offer, we'll cut the price in half. Now you can hear up to 30 times better for just $29.95. But there's even more. We'll double the offer free. Just pay additional processing and handling. Wear them both or give one to a loved one. Did you hear that? That's 2 MSA 30Xs for just $29.95. The MSA 30X Hear Better Now offer. Get 2 for just $29.95.
All I can say is just try it. It could change your life.
To order the MSA 30X sound amplifier, call 1-800-535-0654. That's 1-800-535-0654. Or you can go to MSA30X.com. Call or go online now.
Secretary of State John Kerry has condemned anti-Semitic comments made by Turkey's prime minister. The statements liken Zionism to a crime against humanity. Kerry says such comparisons complicate the peace efforts in the Middle East and says right now there is an urgent need to promote a spirit of tolerance, and that includes all of the public statements made by all leaders.
French troops are beginning to wind down their fight against Islamic militants in Mali, but CBN continues to feed and assist those caught up in the conflict. Gary Lane has more from Bamako, Mali.
CBN News joined Operation Blessing in the capital city of Bamako as it fed a group of refugees. Most fled the Islamist takeover of the northern city of Gao. While they found temporary housing, they still depend on the generosity of others to help feed their children. Alimatu Diarra was pregnant when her family made the 600-mile journey from Gao to Bamako. Her baby was born with an abdominal hernia. Tiny Abdou Malik underwent surgery, but his condition has not improved. Operation Blessing asked this doctor to examine little Abdou. He says the first surgery wasn't done well. This baby has an infection, and his intestine could come out again. Abdu's mom is now awaiting results from an ultrasound test, paid for by Operation Blessing. He may need another surgery. She told us, "I am grateful to God and you for the high quality of beans and rice that you've provided. Also for your concern for my baby." Not only are refugees and victims of the war being fed and cared for, but CBN is doing what it can to help change the lives of young women. 19-year-old Fatima will soon graduate from the sewing school. She attends classes here because she wants a better future. She hopes to start her own sewing shop, and she wants to be a blessing to others. CBN helped Pastor Yurno Trory begin the sewing school in 2004. 14 young women started classes back then. Today, more than 120 students are enrolled here. They attend classes for 3 years. Pastor Trory says without job skills, many of these young women would turn to prostitution to support their families. Divorced women also receive training here.
When a woman is divorced with 3, 4, 5 children, and she can't earn her own life, that's misery.
Some of these students are non-Christians. Trory often reads Bible verses to the women and teaches them about Christianity.
We have received some who have become Christians, and they follow the Lord. They want to go to church.
So, in a time of war, CBN is helping Malians meet some of their immediate needs, receive job training for the long term, and spiritual truth for eternity. Gary Lane, CBN News, Bamako, Mali.
Roman Catholic cardinals take the first steps toward electing a new pope on Monday. Vatican officials are confirming the cardinals will begin informal discussions of church issues, topping their agenda, announcing a date for the start of the conclave. That's the closed, secret voting session held inside the Sistine Chapel that continues until a new pope is agreed upon. The conclave is expected to begin sometime next week.
Up next, how the first Black Marines are finally getting the honor they're due.
My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Struts Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Struts Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Struts Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, calloused feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back. But keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all. A $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yes! Love my Struts, love my Struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts. Be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your Struts and Miracle Foot Repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
Becoming a Marine involves grueling training, but once you've made it, you're part of the Corps for life.
At a time when race separated the country, the Montfort Point Marines became the first African Americans to join the few and the proud. John Jessup brings us their story in tonight's Focus Report.
We was called the Chosen Few, and the group of colored Marines who fought for a right to fight.
June 1st, 1942. At 1 minute after midnight, hundreds line up as the Marines recruit African Americans for the first time. They came from all walks of life, doctors, teachers, musicians, and athletes. Some were even Army officers who took discharges to join the Marine Corps and pave a new path. Their journey began with boot camp at Montfort Point, a segregated training facility at Camp Lejeune where things were separate and equal.
By the time I arrived, they had switched from white instructors to black instructors. So they felt that the rougher they were on you, the more you learn how to take care of your life.
Reuben J. McNair, then a young kid from Mississippi, enlisted in 1944.
The Marines were, they said, fighting land, air, sea, water, and I wanted to be one of those people. Plus, I loved the uniform. Those dress blues, I just couldn't wait to put a dress blue on.
He knew it would be a challenge.
We had a gentleman called Judo Jones. He would go out and he would teach you judo. And you learn to flip people from one side to another.
But he had another goal in mind.
By the time I was 10 or 12 years old, I could take a .22 rifle and strike a match 25 yards away. I was very skillful at shooting. I made one mistake. I kept asking the drill instructor, when are we going to fire the gun? And the drill instructor would look at me and he said, lad, it's not a gun. This is a rifle.
After running a few laps around the platoon, holding the rifle over his head, he got it right. And 6 weeks later, McNair finally got to show what he could do.
Goes to the rifle range. And my drill instructor walks over and pat me on the shoulder and he says, young Mac, says, you've been talking about how good you can fire this gun. Today you can call it gun. You can call it baby, sweetheart. Show me your stuff. Can you really do it? Yes, sir. We goes out, starts out at the 200-yard line. Bars. I told the bulls I upped all the drill instructors. They was around, peeping, looking. I had the little glasses out, peeping down. I'm just knocking this eye out. Goes back to the 300-yard line. I'm knocking this thing out. When I finished boot camp, I was an expert marksman shooter.
The rigors of training behind him, McNair set off for the South Pacific ready for action, but
they made it very clear that my job, or all African Americans, Marines, our jobs were to get the ammunition up and bring the wounded back.
Discouragement set in.
It was very clear that we wouldn't want it in the Marine Corps.
But African Americans were and are an integral part of the Marine Corps. And as time would tell, they would serve in some of the most important battles, from Korea to the Pacific to Vietnam. McNair led white and black troops, but the excitement didn't last long. After his unit survived a blistering attack, only the white staff sergeant in the group received a Silver Star. McNair got nothing.
There was nothing officially ever put in the record, so nothing we can do about it. And I was telling him, I said, well, look, just knowing that if you were part of 43 people and you one of those that left living, it was worth something.
McNair says faith helped to keep away the bitterness.
I grew up in the church, and I've always been a sort of a close person to God, and I just felt that He made me, and He made me strong.
And as the Bible says, all things work together for good to them that love God. Last year, the Montfort Point Marines were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, thankful for the honor, but admitting it was a long time coming.
My mother always told me, said, better son, it's better late than ever.
I didn't think it would ever come because, you know, as you get older, you know, you just think about these things that would never happen.
I'm one of the ones who started the Montfort Point Marine Association. We never thought we'd see a black general, much less the ones that we see today.
You have to look forward, look to the Lord, just trust in Him.
And as for McNair, he served 20 years in the Marines.
It was so nice to get out and come home and be with these little guys. I had 3 sons and a lovely wife, and just come home and enjoy. And so it's been a great life.
Paving the way for generations to fight for their country and follow in their footsteps. John Jessup, CBN News.
What a great story. Up next, the dance craze that has the FAA cracking down.
CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, New York.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore. CBNNews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
Embassy in Washington, Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
John Mapes is 42. Mortgage, married, 2 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. John can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $25 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll search the pick of insurers like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. John's wife, Kerry, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or visit SelectQuote.com.
What started out as a harmless internet craze has ended with an all-out FAA investigation.
Yeah, take a look at this. It's called the Harlem Shake, a dance that's gone viral where one person starts dancing and a large group joins in. Recently, some Colorado college students thought they'd try it on a Frontier Airlines flight. Well, it turns out the Federal Aviation Administration was not amused. They're now looking into whether passengers were in jeopardy. Frontier Airlines says the seatbelt sign was off and safety measures were followed. Be interesting to see the results of that investigation. What was up with the dude in a banana suit?
I don't know. He must have smuggled that one on. I don't think he went through security with that outfit on.
I would say so. A little bizarre there.
That's all the time we have for this edition of NewsWatch.
Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at NewsWatch. Have a good weekend.